The Darkness return with their 8th studio album, Dreams on Toast. A wonderfully English, satirical name that matches the energy of the entire album, to be honest. I was not hugely into The Darkness prior to this journey. My girlfriend's been a big fan because she had a huge crush on Justin Hawkins back in the day, and obviously, because I'm a person with ears, I have heard I Believe in a Thing Called Love, of course. But up until then, I'd never really bothered to explore them anymore. But then I Hate Myself just came out a couple of months ago, and I sort of took a chance on it based on sort of advice from my girlfriend, and we saw that also The Darkness are playing it download this year. And I loved it. That song was great. It was not what I was expecting. It definitely still has that kind of like strange parody kind of feel to it, but it gave me the impetus to take The Darkness more seriously, and I'm glad I did, because it led to me listening through to Dreams on Toast, which I've now listened through almost 4 times in its entirety, and I can happily report back and say this album bangs. Just across the board, almost every song is like wonderfully creative, sarcastic, full of crunchy, energetic riffs, mixed in with a surprising amount of like genre diversity within there. Like, they are definitely in the classic rock kind of sphere. Most of it would fit into that kind of wider category, but outside of that, there is glam, there is country, there is all sorts of like homages to various subgenres and bands and stuff like that. The list of influences must be absolutely astronomical, and it shows. It really feels like a love letter to a genre that The Darkness love. It's interesting as well, because there's a lyric in one of the songs, which I now can't remember which one specifically, where he talks about the fact that they have never stopped making albums, people just stopped buying them. And I was like, that is, it's a very self-aware thing to say, but I love the impetus so that they don't care. Admittedly, I think the royalties of I Believe in a Thing Called Love will probably make sure that none of them are poor for probably the rest of their lives, to be honest. But I like that they just do it for the love of the game, and I tell you what, 8 albums in, they absolutely know what they're doing. Starting off with the vocals, I mean, Justin Hawkins has got to be one of the best rock singers currently doing it, right? Like, he has got one of the most ridiculous ranges ever to start with. That falsetto is unlike anybody else. The vocal style could be perceived to be cheesy, to be honest, and I can imagine sort of casual listeners who maybe aren't familiar with the genres would hear a sort of snippet and think that, but there is nothing cheesy about it. He full sends those notes beautifully, but he shows a remarkable amount of lyrical diversity as he goes across. You end up with songs like Rock and Roll Party Cowboy, which is the opening track of the album, and listen to this for vocal delivery.
Leather jacket, no sleeves, Harley Davidson, yes please.
He's got that like kind of grungy, gritty, like very caricature-esque, sort of vocal style going on. And this is the same guy that's going to soar into the stratosphere in the same song, I might add. So from that perspective, obviously Justin Hawkins' vocals are just, across this entire album, phenomenal. They're oozing character. There are times when he goes off, like in the Battle for Gadget Land.
You peasants, time to curtsy. My name's Justin, I'm the Earl of Chertsey.
Like, that kind of like storytelling ridiculousness is just amazing. That song reminds me quite a lot of Beelzebub, the Tenacious D classic. So yeah, very diverse, very charismatic. Love the vocals. Lyrically as well, this album is amazing. It flops between pure parody with, again, songs like The Battles for Gadget Land or Rock and Roll Party Cowboy, but then you get songs like Mortal Dread or Don't Need Sunshine, and those songs, despite again having that kind of flashy panache to them, to some degree at least, the lyrical depth is actually like remarkably introspective and talking about these real issues that you can see, he's singing from the soul. Mortal Dread is him definitely talking about how he closed his eyes and woke up in a middle-aged man's body, and he's starting to wonder what happened with all the time. That's a sad subject to sing about, and Don't Need Sunshine is actually a really interesting one because it's delivered in a format that is quite sad and soulful. Like the song itself sounds like a kind of sad emotional ballad, but the lyrics, they, to me at least, feel far more about how he's learnt to take pleasure without necessarily succeeding. He's just learnt to be happy without the sunshine, and that's a message I think that is, generally speaking, wholly positive. So no, again, lyrically, vocally, this album, just every track is fantastic. You even get silly examples like Hot on My Tail, where he goes full country and western, and he does that well too. So that stuff is amazing. Moving on to the guitars and sort of like general songwriting, the riffs are almost almost without exception banging. They're usually quite high energy. The tones on those guitars are rough and thick and heavy, but without being messy, which is really nice. It's very tight. So the general feeling of the entire thing is all very clean, but it's definitely got that kind of like cock rock, kind of like, I don't know, balls out vibe to it, which I really like. Almost all of the riffs are like grabbing and exciting, apart from in the songs where it's a little bit slower, and that's because they're not needed to be, in which case, yeah, perfect. They write for the song. Songs like Mortal Dread did not need to have a really big, kick-ass, Def Leppard-inspired riff attached to it. It did its job. And again, with the solos, which I think Justin Hawkins probably does quite a lot of as well, they're all blinding, to be fair, but they're all quite short. They don't outstay their welcome. None of these songs are, like, the longest one is 4.5 minutes, and that's a good minute longer than the rest of them. So I appreciate how succinct he keeps those solos, but it makes them more impactful. They're scattered out just tastefully enough across the whole album that I really enjoyed them when they did turn up. And then the production, moving on to that, it's immaculate, to be honest. I mean, again, this is often a symptom of a band that's just been around for a while now. They've been through the weed and the mud, and they've up and come, and they've now got their money, and they're all like maturer now, but the production is very, very tight. There's a few songs where some of the more ridiculous overwriting, which is usually part of the point of the song, to be honest, songs like Hot on My Tail, which has got a lot going on by the end, because it's got this kind of like janky honky tonk kind of vibe going on. I mean, listen to this. Just this intro with this like harpsichord, and then you've got these multi-layered vocals going on, and there's the acoustic. You move on to later in the song. See what I mean? That's a really, really like thick sound. There's a lot going on. There's a piano, there's a multi-layered vocals, there's some violin, I think, even going on there, and probably other stuff. And my only complaint really with the production is sometimes these songs do get a little bit too overwritten, and some of the more finer details end up not singing out as much just because there's so much of them. I am sure that every single track and in that song is immaculate and cleverly put together, the piano lines and all that, but they kind of almost turn into a big mush. I don't know whether that's actually like maybe intentional. It might well be, to be honest. But if it's not, yeah, I think sometimes some of the details can get lost in the minutiae, but that's completely fine. So I think in general, this album is awesome. If you're a Darkness fan, I can imagine it's going to do nothing but please you. As somebody who is becoming a budding Darkness fan, it's absolutely sucked me in. I don't think there's a bad track on here. There are some I would skip more than others. Rock and Roll Party Cowboy is a highlight. Hot on My Tail for me is a highlight. The Battle for Gadgetland was a highlight. Walking Through Fire is a highlight. I really like those songs, but it's all good. None of it's, the dip is not much, but it's definitely encouraging me to go off and listen to more Darkness. I can't wait to see them now. I'm going to listen to this album on repeat, and I recommend you do the same. I'm going to give this album a solid 8.5 out of 10, something like that. But let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Especially you guys who are old school Darkness fans. I'd love to know how you feel this sits amongst their great albums. And recommend me some more songs, recommend me some more tracks, some albums, anything like that, because I'm feeling this Darkness thing, and I'd quite like to know more of the set list that I'm going to go and see at Download this year. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all of that crazy stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.